Hello and welcome. This is William Jenkins. This is a presentation for a college course, Unmanned Systems Sensing Technology. It's a UAV course that I'm taking currently with Embry Riddle Worldwide. This is being recorded on February 25th, 2017, and it accompanies Activity 7.4, which is the final project for the course. For this proposed UAV project, we're talking about the possibility of setting up a UAV program for sports and videography purposes at Soldier Field, home of the Chicago Bears in Chicago, Illinois. Here's an overview of this presentation. First, we're going to talk about the proposed application and then why this application makes sense to consider. What would be needed to implement this program, get it up and running. We're going to talk about the sensor that we would use. We're going to talk about the platform, project budget, both for acquisition and first year operations. We're going to talk about a risk analysis and then recommendations that would be proposed to potentially management at the stadium if they were really going to be considering getting a UAV program for their facility up and running. And down at the bottom, we've got contact information and the sources that I used to build this project. So Soldier Field's a major NFL sports stadium, home of the Bears. NFL ball game seating capacity is 60,000, but the stadium is used regularly for a wide variety of live events. Currently, they've got public events scheduled on over 200 days per year. And record attendance a couple of years ago at a concert was 260,000. So for events that allow attendees, down on the field, obviously attendance can be much higher than that of a football game. Lots of different types of events, large crowds, high visibility. So it's an exciting concept. Why start a UAV program here? And it's first to note that this type of proposed operation currently would not be approved by the FAA. Commercial operations of small UAVs has really grown a lot since the release of Part 107 in 2015. And while we're not yet to the point where we're flying UAVs over open crowds of people, it is happening in other countries, and I believe there's a huge market demand for it here. So as soon as these types of operations become approved, I think that the players who would be in a position to exploit this type of technology and capitalize on it will be putting themselves in a very favorable position. So anticipating updated and evolving regulations that would allow for this type of operation, I think that's a very wise thing to do. So that's why I think this was an exciting project to work on. And it makes a lot of sense. Assuming that a stadium like Soldier Field did implement a UAV program so that they'd be ready, it would give them the opportunity to enhance customer experiences while attending stadium events. It provides them the opportunity to capture high-def video and still photography, to be played back later. You could create, capture video of events and keep that to sell later. I'm sure we've all seen concerts recorded live on DVD, that kind of thing. It also would allow them to have interactive entertainment opportunities during live events where footage of the game could be live streamed on the internet, the live stream could be made available to cable broadcasters, and it could be put on TV. It could be live streamed into the jumbo, screens live on the field, during play, and all different types of crowd interaction scenarios that are currently being done, at major sporting events. They're just being done without UAVs. The UAV would offer the opportunity to capture the fans in the stands and the action on the field from vantage points that were previously inaccessible. So to put this together, we need to discuss the platform, the sensor. We're going to be talking about DJI products, some of the latest and greatest. The Inspire 2 system was just released on the consumer market. back November 2016, so that's just a few months ago. This is current stuff. For those systems to operate, we need a sensor operator and a pilot for the UAV. These are both handheld ground control stations. They can basically be operated from an iPad or a tablet. For operations over open crowds of people, it would be important to have spotters and a very professionally run safety program in place. The sensor itself is a 4:3 CMOS sensor. It's capable of taking 20.8 megapixel stills. It can record 4K high-def video, and that video is captured on the device and available for download later. That would come in handy for recording events, and then later, production level quality, film could be created and then kept for later sale, either streamed over the internet, making DVDs and having those available, either over the internet or in a gift shop, something like that. Now 1080p at 60 frames per second, that can be live streamed, so that's high def video that's available right now in real time during live events. It could be broadcast onto the jumbo screens. It could be streamed online. It could be made available to cable film crew, cable crews that want to broadcast from their vans. They can have access to that stream. So there's a lot of different opportunities with this sensor. It's gimbal mounted, and the design has been engineered to give it free range in all directions. It's better than previous designs, which would run out of travel. This one just doesn't have that problem. It is controlled remotely. There's a wide variety of different configurations and options. Everything that's digital, that all of those options can be changed on the fly, controlled from the ground control station. And the sensor also comes, there are accessories available. There's a whole range of different lenses that can be put on for different types of shots. Here's a strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis of the sensor. I've already talked about some of the strengths. Didn't mention that there are many file formats available, so depending on what your software package you're running for image editing or video editing, it's probably got a file format that's acceptable. It's a stable gimbal, so the shake and the rattle that you see with some of the lower cost platform and sensor combinations is going to be much less of an issue with this package that's been put together for producing professional quality results. We talked about some of the opportunities earlier. Weaknesses, it is worth noting that most professional crews that are using these are using separate and supplemental audio recording devices. This unit does have the ability to record audio, but the UAV itself makes noise, it's moving, and so it just doesn't produce the best result when trying to record audio. As with any vertical takeoff and landing platforms that are lithium-ion battery powered, you're going to be looking at multiple battery replacements, throughout the course of a workday. So there's no surprise there, but it's worth mentioning that that's a weakness. Professional pilot required. For this proposed application, that's what makes me acknowledge that you would want a professional. You'd want someone with experience and great skill when you're talking about flying over open crowds of people. There are unprofessionals that are able to buy these units and develop their own experience, but typically you'd want to be doing that kind of out in a remote area, not around crowds of people. The biggest threat, of course, is that this type of operation, as of today, would not be authorized. But there are potential multiple paths that I discussed in the paper to where this type of operation in the near-term future could be authorized, either through evolving regs or an operator approaching the FAA and trying to qualify for some type of exemption if they were able to prove that they've got the proper safety program in place and they can demonstrate the ability to operate safely, kind of like how manned aircraft operators work today. So potentially, it's not unforeseeable that this type of operation could be approved, in the not too distant future. Alright, so the platform, also a DJI product, pairs seamlessly with the sensor. High levels of safety, controllability, and reliability. It's very important for this proposed operation, and most operations, I would imagine. Again, this unit's been manufactured specifically to meet the high demands of professionals. So it's not a toy. It's professional grade equipment, and its predecessor, Inspire 1, has now been used by professional film crews all over the world. The specs show that Inspire 2 is superior to Inspire 1, so I can imagine that its success will be equal or maybe even surpass it. Here's the strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis for Inspire 2. It's got a pretty good top speed, 58 miles per hour. It's fast. It's got its own obstacle detection and avoidance system on board. Vertical takeoff and land platform makes it easy to operate in and out of small spaces. We can, as an opportunity, quickly deliver the XS5 to the desired location, which could be changing frequently during live action, or covering what's going on, with the crowds. It's got a feature called Active Trap. It's pretty cool. The sensor operator can select a target, and then the platform will actually follow it around. There's some videos online of this being used with mountain bikers and surfers. It's pretty neat and handy option. Weaknesses, again, we mentioned the need for a professional operator. It's noisy. Most events taking place in an open air stadium, this wouldn't be an issue, but I've seen some reviewers complain when they're trying to do certain types of applications, for instance, taking wedding photos. It can be distracting, so that is a consideration for certain types of applications. And it might be the case that it would work out that way for certain stadium events where the noise would not be desirable. Again, multiple battery changes per workday, that would be expected. Threats to this type of proposed program could be independent contractors coming in, so that a organization would not want to go to the trouble to build their own program. They could just hire a contractor who would come in. It's a potential reason not to develop your own program. We have to discuss the potential for accidents, new untested technology. Like I said, the Inspire 2 has only been out for 4 months, so we don't really have tons of data on how well it's performing or what the problems are. It's a risk you take when you go with the latest and greatest. And although for a professional operation I wouldn't consider this high cost, there are lower cost options available. Here's a picture of the platform paired with the sensor. It's a nice looking quadcopter. I'll mention here that all the components in the system, they come with nice travel carry cases. I think DJI takes pride in how their products look and how they travel. It looks like everything's done to a pretty professional standard. Here's a photo taken from the DJI website to promote the Inspire 2, and they've got some really good videos available on the website and on YouTube to show the type of footage that Inspire 2 is capable of capturing with the X5S sensor. There's even a short film that was filmed exclusively using the camera. So in some cases you got film crews that are electing to use this as their primary filming device, and they'll just hold the sensor or mount it some other way when it's not necessary to have it used on the platform, which is a pretty interesting concept of consolidating, technology and not having multiple different types of multiple cameras. You can take this one and mount it stationary and get a same great shot, and then put it back on the Inspire 2 and fly around and get those shots when you can. So it's possible now to use it for a variety of different applications, both on and both in flight and not in flight. Alright, so let's look at a cost breakdown. On the left we got the acquisition cost. Inspire 2 retails for $29.99 today. The X5S sensor $1,900. And then I put upgrades, additional batteries, carry cases, lenses, supplemental equipment. Put a budget of $5,101. So that's $10,000 for acquisition, and then labor cost. And I go into this in the paper that it's probably not going to be hard to find people to operate these. It's something that a lot of people are wanting to get into. Internships could be set up to get low-cost labor. This would be a very desirable position, for an early adopter for, this type of filming application over a stadium. So there may be some labor cost associated with contractors coming in and just paying people, but I doubt that labor cost would be real high. Maintenance and repair, obviously there's going to be maintenance and repair on the equipment. We're not talking about a huge number there for the equipment, so that $20,000 should go a long way. But when setting up a budget, just figure it's better to err on the side to where we hopefully we won't use up the entire budget. But I figure $60,000 should be an adequate budget for the first year operations and acquisition costs for a system. And if you think about the utility and the value that it could bring to the day-to-day operations of a stadium, it should pay for itself pretty quickly. So here's just a graphical breakdown of the first year's operational budget: $50,000, startup costs $10,000, so $60,000 total budget first year operations. Every project carries risk. The largest risk, the largest risk to consider would be the safety risk. An accident could be very detrimental. It's going to be very public. It's going to be very obvious, and there is the potential for harm here if the system is not run properly. And so having a professional safety program from day one would be absolutely necessary in this type of application. And there will be no toleration for any situation that increases the possibility of harm to any spectator or customer on site. That consideration has to be primary from day one. Safety and potential mishaps are not the only risk associated with the program, though. We have costs to consider, schedule, and technical. So we put this program in place. How much of the time we're actually going to have coverage, during live events? How much of those live events can we provide coverage with our UAV, the UAV program? So I've assembled this risk analysis table. Level 1 and level 2 indicate low risk. Level 3 would be the highest level of acceptable risk. Level 4 would be considered high. And in some cases, if you go 5% over budget, that's undesirable, but it's not a showstopper. Whereas, high risk in regards to technical or safety concerns just absolutely would not be acceptable. And then level 5 risk, you should absolutely have to be avoided at all costs. So I've put in here kind of what the different criteria for each level of risk for all those different types of risk: cost, schedule, technical, and safety, and then the level of urgency. And the level of urgency should never get to high. If for any reason something did reach a high level of risk, mitigation strategies would need to be adopted immediately, and then it might even justify a ground stop. All right, so I'm going to point out that risk analysis for this type of program is not a one-time thing. It's risk analysis need to be completed on an ongoing basis, and this is a concept project, so risk relating to cost and schedule can be considered, and I would say, at this point, they're very low considering what we know. But the risk relating to technical and safety aspects of the project are purely speculative. We're going off of the information that's available about these systems on the internet. Listening to reviewers and looking at the data that's been published by the manufacturer and information that's been written by others that are familiar with the equipment. But once a program is adopted, you get a team in place to operate the equipment, then you can begin trial operations. And I'll mention here that trial operations might need to go on for a significant amount of time before a team gain the confidence to be able to initiate live operations. So I would say live operations will not be improved until the team is able to demonstrate that the level of risk for safety and technical considerations are acceptable. And I'd say level 3 or lower, hopefully getting down to that low risk range. So from a concept point of view, the technical and safety risk are really unknown until initial operations take place, and then once technical and safety risk analysis can be performed based on actual data, based on actual experience, then you can determine, hey, are we ready to move forward and take the program to the next level and consider live operations during certain events, or do we need more time to improve our systems and get those levels of risk down? So we've talked about that. So based on everything we've discussed so far, if I were sitting down with upper management at the stadium and they were really considering this type of project, I would say, let's make a plan to implement the program. Yes, let's go ahead. The next step would be to assign a leadership team, figure out who these people are going to be. A budget would need to be approved. If the budget proposed is not acceptable, then we need to make the necessary changes and then determine whether or not the project would be able to operate at an acceptable level based on the budget that we could get approved. And at that point, we could either move forward or sidestep, maybe table the project, or maybe just decide that this is not a good fit. Assuming that we could get a budget approved and a leadership team in place, the next step would be to acquire the necessary equipment, get the team members in place, and then begin trial operations to assess the quality of our system and make changes and tweak as necessary until everyone on board is satisfied that live operations are ready and that the team is able to proceed with confidence and safety. So we've talked about the proposed UAV operation at Soldier Field, what a great opportunity it would be. We talked about regulations and how we're not quite there, but those operators that are willing to take a risk may put themselves in a very advantageous position with the first mover's advantage once this type of operation does become authorized, and it's possible that could happen sooner than later. We talked about the DJI Inspire 2 with the X5S electro-optical sensor. We talked about the need to consider all the risk and ensure that operations can be conducted safely. We talked about the different opportunities that this system could provide for the stadium and how the customer's experience could be enhanced, and how the ability to stream and capture high def stills and live images could be very beneficial. And UAV obviously offers the opportunity to get the camera into vantage points that were previously not available. Thank you for watching my presentation. This is my school email address. Feel free to contact me. And here's a list of the references that were used to put this project together. Thank you very much.